She runs a pharmaceutical empire worth $2 billion. He once saved hundreds of children's lives in the emergency room. Now she flies in helicopters to board meetings while he patrols a shopping mall for $18 an hour. But when her 8-year-old daughter stops breathing in a crowd of strangers, everything changes. And the secret this security guard has been hiding will shake her world to its core. Victoria Hayes stood before the floor-to-ceiling windows on the 47th floor of Pinnacle Tower. Manhattan spread beneath her like a kingdom waiting to be conquered. Her reflection showed a woman in perfect armor, Armani suit, tailored to perfection, diamond studs catching the afternoon light, hair swept into an elegant chignon that had taken her assistant 20 minutes to perfect that morning. She was concluding a conference call with Goldman Sachs about the IPO that would define her legacy. In 30 days, Pinnacle Pharmaceuticals would go public with a valuation of $2.4 billion. Forbes had called her the pharma queen under 40. Business Insider had profiled her 3 times in 2 years. At 35, Victoria Hayes had everything the world said she should want. But beneath the polished exterior, she carried a weight that no amount of success could lift. Her ex-husband had left 2 years ago for his 24-year-old assistant, leaving Victoria to raise their daughter Emma alone. She compensated with efficiency, the best schools, the most experienced nannies, the top pediatric specialists for Emma's asthma. But no amount of money could buy the one thing she struggled to provide: herself. 3 miles away, in a cramped locker room that smelled of industrial cleaner and cheap cologne, Marcus Cole adjusted his Navy security uniform. The fluorescent lights caught the tired lines around his eyes. Lines that hadn't been there 3 years ago, when his hands had held scalpels instead of walkie-talkies. On his locker door, a child's drawing showed a stick figure in a white coat. The crayon letters spelled out, "Best Dr. Daddy," in wobbly purple script. The paper was yellowed now, edges curling. Lily had drawn it when she was 7, before everything fell apart. 3 years ago, he had been Dr. Marcus Cole, rising star in pediatric emergency medicine, published in prestigious journals, respected by colleagues nationwide. His specialty had been respiratory emergencies, the desperate moments when children couldn't breathe and parents could only pray. Now he earned $18 an hour making sure teenagers didn't shoplift from the food court. The photograph tucked into the corner of his locker showed a different life. Marcus in his white coat smiling, a beautiful woman beside him, a little girl with dark curls laughing between them. That woman was gone now, not dead, just gone. Rachel had been a surgeon, brilliant, ambitious, and increasingly frustrated with a husband who loved his patients with an intensity she felt should have belonged to her. "It's not that I don't love you," she had said while packing her designer luggage into suitcases that cost more than his monthly salary now. "It's that you love medicine more than anything else, more than me. Maybe even more than Lily." She had left with a colleague who didn't cancel dinner plans for emergencies, a man who didn't miss anniversary dinners because a child was coding, a man who didn't carry the weight of life and death decisions into their bedroom every night. The final blow came weeks after Rachel left. Marcus had submitted his most important research proposal, a revolutionary delivery system for asthma medication, affordable, accessible, designed for children in low-income communities who couldn't afford the premium treatments that kept wealthy kids breathing. Pinnacle Pharmaceuticals rejected it. The memo had been brief and brutal. Insufficient market potential, not commercially viable. 3 years of research, thousands of hours, a system that could have saved countless lives. Dismissed in 2 sentences. After that, everything collapsed at once. Lily's asthma grew severe in the months following her mother's departure. Stress, the doctor said. The abandonment had triggered something in her small body. She needed a father present, not a father perpetually on call. So Marcus made the choice that still defined him. He walked away from medicine entirely because hospital shifts of 80 hours a week weren't compatible with single parenthood. Because Lily needed someone to be there for school plays and midnight asthma attacks and the thousand small moments that build a childhood. Marcus chose to be that father, even if it meant becoming invisible to the world that once celebrated him. A scorching Saturday in July, Victoria had carved out a rare day with Emma, a peace offering for all the missed bedtimes, the conference calls during dinner, the nannies who knew Emma's favorite foods better than her own mother did. Westfield Mall was crowded with summer shoppers seeking refuge from the brutal heat. Victoria guided her 8-year-old daughter through designer stores, trying to remember how to be present without checking her phone every 5 minutes. Emma's small hand felt warm in hers, trusting. The girl chattered about her friend Sophia's birthday party next week, about the purple dress she wanted to wear, about whether unicorns could be real if scientists just tried hard enough to find them. Victoria nodded at the right moments, but her mind kept drifting to the IPO timeline. The Goldman call that morning had run 20 minutes over. She'd rushed out without double-checking Emma's bag, without double-checking anything. Then it happened. Without warning, Emma's breath caught. Her small hand gripped Victoria's fingers with sudden, terrifying intensity. "Mom!" Emma gasped, her dark eyes widening with familiar fear. Victoria's heart stopped. She dropped her shopping bags, kneeling beside her daughter. Emma's lips were turning blue. Her small chest heaved with desperate, insufficient breaths. The color was draining from her face like water from a cracked vessel. Victoria tore through her designer purse, fingers frantic. The inhaler wasn't there. It was on her desk, at the office, left behind that morning when the Goldman Sachs call ran over. Emma collapsed against her mother, wheezing for air that wouldn't come. Victoria screamed for help. The crowd parted around them, people frozen by shock or simply unwilling to get involved. A sea of faces watching, filming with their phones, doing nothing. Her daughter was dying in her arms and the world just watched. Then a security guard pushed through the paralyzed crowd. He didn't hesitate, didn't ask questions, didn't fumble or freeze. He knelt beside Emma, and his voice cut through Victoria's panic like a blade through silk. Calm, commanding, completely at odds with his mall security uniform. "Look at me, sweetheart, right here. Breathe with me." He produced an inhaler from his pocket and administered it with the practiced precision of someone who had done this 1,000 times before. His movements were efficient, his instructions clear. He talked Emma through the panic, his voice an anchor in her terror. Victoria watched, stunned, as this mall security guard handled her daughter's medical emergency with more competence than specialists she had paid thousands to consult. 3 minutes. That's all it took. Emma's breathing stabilized. Color returned to her cheeks. She looked up at the security guard with something like wonder. Victoria's hands were shaking. Her voice barely worked. "Please," she managed, reaching for her wallet. "Let me compensate you for—" "No need." His tone was polite but carried a cool distance. "I have a daughter with asthma too. I always carry a spare inhaler." He handed Victoria a card. Just a name and phone number. Nothing else. "The inhaler is just a temporary fix. She should see a doctor to adjust her maintenance medication." Then he stood, nodded professionally, and walked back to his post. Just another security guard returning to his rounds. Victoria realized as he disappeared into the crowd that she had never actually said thank you. That evening, as she tucked Emma into bed, the little girl looked up with thoughtful eyes. "Mommy, that security guard." His hands didn't shake, not even once. Dr. Patterson's hands always shake a little when I have an attack, but that man's hands were like a real superhero. Victoria stared at the card on her nightstand. Marcus Cole. A phone number. Nothing else. Who was this man who had saved her daughter's life like it was routine? 2 weeks passed. Emma talked about the inhaler hero every single day. She drew pictures of him, inhalers with angel wings, security guards with capes. She begged Victoria to return to the mall, to find him, to thank him properly this time. Victoria told herself she was doing this for Emma, but there was something else. A nagging curiosity about a security guard who handled a medical crisis better than trained physicians. A man whose calm competence didn't match his minimum wage uniform. They found Marcus during his lunch break. Emma ran toward him before Victoria could stop her, thrusting a homemade card into his hands. "My superhero inhaler, man," Emma announced. "I made this for you. See? The inhaler has angel wings because it saved my life." Something in Marcus's professional demeanor softened as he looked at the crayon drawing. The hard lines around his eyes gentled. "This is the best thank you I've ever received," he said, and Victoria could tell he meant it. She shifted uncomfortably, acutely aware of how out of place she looked in her designer jeans and silk blouse. "We were wondering if you'd join us for ice cream, if you're not too busy with security things." The awkward ice cream date became something unexpected. Victoria watched Marcus interact with Emma, patient, warm, speaking to her like a real person rather than performing the way adults usually did with children. He answered her rapid-fire questions about his job, about whether he had ever caught a bad guy, about what his favorite ice cream flavor was. "Do you have kids?" Emma asked between bites of strawberry ice cream. "I do. A daughter named Lily. She's 10, and she has asthma too, just like you." "Does Lily have a mommy?" Marcus paused for just a heartbeat. "Lily's mom lives somewhere else now. It's just me and Lily." "Like me and my mom." Emma brightened at the connection. "Daddy lives somewhere else too. Maybe Lily and me could be friends. We could be breathing buddies." Something warm flickered in Marcus's eyes. A crack in the professional armor he wore. "I think Lily would like that very much." Victoria found herself studying this man, the gentleness beneath the uniform, the way he spoke about his daughter with quiet devotion, the careful way he held his coffee cup, fingers precise and steady. There was more to him than a mall security badge. Much more. The weekends became a pattern. Victoria and Emma returned to the mall. Sometimes they found Marcus during his shift. Sometimes they met during his breaks. The four of them began spending time together. Marcus and Victoria, Emma and Lily. Lily was 10 years old with her father's dark eyes and a wisdom that seemed beyond her years. She took Emma under her wing immediately, showing her breathing exercises, teaching her how to stay calm during an attack, sharing the secret language of children who understood what it meant to fight for every breath. Victoria told herself this arrangement was for Emma's benefit, but privately, she recognized something refreshing in Marcus's straightforward manner. He spoke to her like a person, not as the intimidating CEO everyone at Pinnacle tiptoed around, not as a checkbook or a networking opportunity, just a person. During one visit, Emma had a mild asthma episode after running excitedly between stores. Marcus appeared almost immediately, calm and capable, guiding Emma through breathing exercises with practiced ease. Victoria watched, and the question she'd been avoiding finally surfaced. "You know far too much about asthma management for a security guard." No accusation, just genuine curiosity. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Then he made a choice. "I was an ER doctor. Pediatrics. Respiratory emergencies were my specialty." Victoria's carefully composed expression registered genuine shock. "What happened?" "Life happened." His voice carried years of compressed pain. "My ex-wife decided I love medicine more than our marriage. She wasn't entirely wrong. After she left, Lily's asthma got worse. Probably stress. Hospital shifts don't accommodate single parenting." "So you chose." "I chose being there for my daughter over being there for everyone else's." For the first time, Victoria looked at him without the invisible barrier of their different worlds. She saw a man who had sacrificed everything for his child, the same impossible choice she struggled with every day. CEO schedules don't accommodate single parenting either, she admitted softly. I keep telling myself I'm building something for Emma's future, but sometimes I wonder if she'd trade all of it for more of my present. Something passed between them, an understanding. Two people broken by the same impossible mathematics of love and ambition. That evening, Victoria's phone buzzed with a call from Margaret Chen. Margaret was 62 years old, Pinnacle's co-founder, and the closest thing Victoria had to a mentor. Her voice was tight with urgency. We need to talk. Tonight. Richard Blake is making moves. He wants your chair, Victoria, and he has 30 days before the IPO to take it. 3 months into their unlikely friendship, Victoria's two worlds collided spectacularly. Pinnacle Pharmaceuticals' annual charity gala. The ballroom glittered with Manhattan's elite, industry titans, politicians, philanthropists writing checks with many zeros. Victoria commanded the stage in an emerald gown, announcing a new initiative to fund pediatric respiratory research. She was in her element, every word calculated to inspire and impress. From the back of the ballroom, a server dropped a tray of glasses. The crash barely registered with most guests, but Victoria noticed a small figure at a children's table bolt upright, a dark-haired girl gasping for breath, hand clutching at her throat. Without thinking, Victoria rushed from the stage. Then a familiar voice cut through the confusion. Lily! Marcus pushed through the crowd, his rented tuxedo incongruous with his urgency. He dropped beside his daughter, already producing an inhaler with hands that didn't waver. Victoria stepped back, watching him work. Only when Lily's breathing stabilized did she process the impossibility of his presence. The event coordinator appeared at her elbow, voice low and apologetic. Ms. Hayes, I'm so sorry for the disruption. Dr. Marcus Cole was one of our honorees tonight. His research on affordable asthma treatments for underserved communities was groundbreaking before he left the field. The words hit Victoria like ice water. Dr. Marcus Cole. The name clicked into place with devastating clarity. 3 years ago, a research proposal on her desk. An innovative delivery system for asthma medication. Affordable, accessible, designed specifically for children in low-income communities. The science had been revolutionary, the potential impact enormous. Victoria had personally written the rejection memo. She remembered now. She had been distracted that day. Dozens of proposals to review, shareholder meetings, quarterly projections. She had glanced at the numbers, seen the thin profit margins, and made her decision in minutes. She had killed Dr. Marcus Cole's life's work without a second thought. And now here they were, connected by their daughter's shared vulnerability, by chance encounters at a shopping mall, by a secret neither had known they shared. Marcus looked up from Lily's side, meeting Victoria's eyes across the ballroom. The recognition in his expression told her everything. He knew exactly who she was. He had known all along. Later, on the hotel's deserted terrace, the confrontation came. You're the Victoria Hayes. Marcus's voice was flat. Pinnacle Pharmaceuticals, the woman who decides which research gets funded and which gets buried. I didn't make the connection. When we met, I never... Would it have mattered? The question hung between them like broken glass. That research could have helped thousands of children like Lily and Emma, kids whose parents can't afford specialists and premium medications. His voice carried 3 years of suppressed bitterness. Kids who die because treatment isn't accessible. The board follows your recommendations. I did my homework before I submitted that proposal, Victoria. I knew exactly who had the final say. Victoria wanted to explain about shareholder pressure, market realities, the 1,000 compromises required to run a pharmaceutical company, but every justification tasted like ash in her mouth. Your project had merit, she managed. The timing was wrong. We were focusing our philanthropic efforts on cancer research that year. Better headlines, Marcus finished. Better press. Helping poor kids breathe doesn't generate the kind of coverage that impresses shareholders. The accusation burned because it was true. That's unfair, Victoria said, but without conviction. Life's unfair. Marcus straightened his rented tuxedo. Some of us learn that lesson earlier than others. He turned to leave, then paused. Thank you for trying to help Lily tonight. She's going to be fine. Not that you asked. He walked away into the darkness, leaving Victoria alone with the weight of her choices. From the shadows behind her, a voice emerged. Fascinating evening, Victoria. Richard Blake stepped onto the terrace, 55 years old, silver hair swept back from a tanned face. A predator's smile that had ended more careers than Victoria cared to count. I wonder what the board would think about our CEO's personal connection to a failed research project and to the disgraced doctor who submitted it. The following weeks were brutal. Marcus switched to weekday shifts, avoiding the weekends. He didn't return calls or texts. The message was clear. Whatever connection they'd built had been severed. Meanwhile, Richard Blake began his campaign. He leaked carefully worded hints to financial journalists. Questions about the CEO's judgment, potential conflicts of interest. Pinnacle's stock price wobbled. Board members who once supported Victoria now avoided her calls. Victoria sought counsel from Margaret Chen in the older woman's corner office. What do I do? Blake is poisoning the board. The IPO is in 3 weeks. And Marcus, I destroyed his career without even knowing it. Margaret studied her protege with wise, assessing eyes. Why did you reject that research proposal 3 years ago? The profit margins were insufficient. The market segment was too small. Standard evaluation criteria. And if you had known then what you know now? If you had known Marcus, known Lily, known that your own daughter would share their struggle? Victoria had no answer. Margaret slid a file across her desk. Marcus's original research proposal. I read this when you rejected it. I didn't intervene because I trusted your judgment. She paused. But I've thought about it many times since. That night, Victoria read Marcus's research cover to cover. Then she pulled data on childhood asthma mortality. She calculated the human cost of her decision, not in dollars, but in hospital visits, in families bankrupted by medical bills, in children whose lungs failed because affordable treatment wasn't available. She had measured lives in profit margins. She had found them wanting. At 2 in the morning, Emma appeared in the doorway of Victoria's home office. Mommy, you're crying. Victoria pulled her daughter close. I made a mistake, baby, a very big mistake, and I'm trying to figure out how to fix it. Is it about Mr. Marcus? How did you know? Emma shrugged with 8-year-old wisdom. You look at him the way you look at me, when you're sorry for missing something. Like you want to fix it, but don't know how. 2 days later, 2 in the morning, Emma woke screaming. This attack was different, worse than anything before. The rescue inhaler barely touched it. Her lips turned blue. Her small body heaved with desperate, failing efforts to draw air. Victoria called 911. Then, without conscious decision, she bundled Emma into the car and drove. Not toward the hospital, toward Marcus. She pounded on his door at 2:30 a.m., holding her gasping daughter. Marcus opened the door in sweatpants and a faded t-shirt. His expression shifted from confusion to professional focus in an instant. How long? 45 minutes. The inhaler isn't helping. I was going to the ER, but Victoria's composure shattered completely. I don't know why I came here. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have. You did exactly right. He was already guiding them inside, movements efficient and sure. I have a nebulizer. It'll work faster than anything they could do in an ER waiting room. He set up the machine, positioned Emma, talked her through the treatment with the calm authority of the doctor he used to be. Within minutes, her breathing eased. Within 20, she was asleep on his couch. Victoria collapsed into a chair, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you. I didn't know where else to go. You would have handled it. You're a capable mother, Victoria." The simple words nearly broke her. In the corporate world, she was feared and respected. As a mother, she constantly felt judged and found wanting. "I've been reading your research," she said. "All of it. The asthma delivery system." Marcus's expression closed. "Ancient history." "It shouldn't be." Victoria met his eyes. "It was brilliant work, important work, and I killed it because I couldn't see past the numbers to the children it could have saved. Apologies don't save lives." "No, but actions might." She took a breath. "I want to bring it back, properly funded, properly supported, as a legitimate pinnacle initiative." Marcus studied her face for a long moment. "Why now?" "Because tonight I wasn't a CEO. I was a mother terrified of losing her daughter, and I drove to the one person I knew could help." She glanced at Emma's sleeping form. "And because I spent 3 weeks wondering why a brilliant doctor was working mall security. Now I understand. Because people like me made decisions from corner offices without ever seeing the faces of those we affected." From the hallway, a small voice. "Dad?" Lily stood in the doorway, watching Emma sleep on the couch. "If you help other kids breathe better, would Mom be proud of you?" Marcus didn't answer, but his eyes glistened in the dim light. By 8 a.m., Victoria was on the phone with Pinnacle's head of research and development. "I want to resurrect a project we rejected 3 years ago, a pediatric asthma treatment delivery system designed by Dr. Marcus Cole." Silence on the line. Then, "The security guard?" "The brilliant researcher whose work we failed to recognize. I want a full reassessment. Focus on social impact alongside commercial viability. Ready for the board meeting in 2 weeks." She sent Marcus a comprehensive package. His research updated and expanded. A new initiative called Breathe Easy. A handwritten note. "Some mistakes can be corrected. Board meeting Thursday, 2 p.m. Your perspective would make all the difference." V. Marcus read the proposal twice. It was excellent, thoughtful, thorough, but wounds don't heal on corporate timelines. That evening, Lily found him staring at the documents spread across their kitchen table. "Are you going to be a doctor again, Daddy?" "I don't know, sweetheart. You always look sad when you talk about before, but you also look sad now." Lily climbed into his lap. "Mommy used to say you were the best doctor in the world. She said you helped kids breathe when nobody else could." "Mommy said that?" "Before she left. She said you loved your patients more than anything." Lily looked up at him with Rachel's eyes. "But I think you love me more than anything. And I think I want you to help other kids too, so they can breathe like me." The boardroom was thick with tension when Marcus arrived. His one remaining suit felt foreign after 3 years in a security uniform, but he wore it like armor. Victoria stood at the head of the table. Richard Blake had positioned himself opposite her, ready to strike. "Before we discuss this initiative," Richard announced smoothly, "I believe full transparency is warranted regarding our CEO's personal connections to this project." He produced photographs. Marcus and Victoria at the mall ice cream shop, their children playing together. "I move to table this proposal pending an ethics review, and to discuss whether Ms. Hayes remains fit to lead Pinnacle through its IPO." The boardroom erupted in murmurs. Victoria's face drained of color. Marcus watched the woman who had rejected his life's work now facing professional destruction for trying to make it right. He stood. "Mr. Blake." His voice carried the quiet authority of a man who had faced actual life and death. "You want to discuss ethics? Let's discuss ethics." For 30 minutes, Marcus commanded the room. He presented data on childhood asthma mortality in underserved communities. He explained the cost-benefit analysis of prevention versus emergency treatment. He described children he couldn't save because their families couldn't afford proper care. 3,500 children die from asthma in America every year. His voice was steady, certain. Almost all of those deaths are preventable with proper treatment and affordable medication. This research could cut that number in half. He turned to face Richard Blake directly. You want to talk about scandal? The scandal is a pharmaceutical company making billions while children die because their families can't afford treatment. The scandal is prioritizing shareholder dividends over human lives. The scandal is that we have the science to save thousands of kids, and we've been sitting on it for 3 years because the profit margins weren't impressive enough. Margaret Chen rose from her seat. I co-founded Pinnacle 30 years ago with a simple mission: save lives. Her voice carried decades of authority. Somewhere along the way, we forgot that mission. I stand with Victoria and Dr. Cole. I vote yes. The vote, 11-2 in favor. Richard Blake's opposition crumbled. After the meeting, Victoria found Marcus in the empty boardroom, staring out the window at Manhattan's skyline. I want to offer you the position of Chief Medical Officer, full salary, benefits, equity stake. She moved to stand beside him. You could practice medicine again, Marcus. Make a real difference at scale. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Then, no. Victoria stared at him. No? I'll consult on the project. 3 days a week on my terms. He turned to face her. But I'm keeping my security job. Marcus, you could have everything you lost. I don't want everything. I want enough. He moved toward the window. 3 years ago, I lost my marriage because I couldn't stop chasing everything. Rachel wasn't entirely wrong. I did love medicine more than I loved being present. After she left, I swore I'd never make that mistake with Lily. His voice was steady, certain. She doesn't need a famous father. She needs a present one. But the research, the children you could help. 3 days a week, I can help build something meaningful. 4 days a week, I can be the father Lily deserves. He turned to face her. That's the math that works for me. Some lessons, once learned, can't be unlearned. I won't sacrifice my daughter's childhood for professional redemption, even redemption that matters. Victoria stared at this man who could reclaim everything and chose contentment instead. It was the most foreign concept she'd ever encountered, and somehow the most compelling thing she'd ever witnessed. 3 days a week, she agreed finally, and occasional weekend consultations at the park with our daughters, and ice cream. A real smile broke across Marcus's face, the first she'd seen reach his eyes. I think that could be arranged. 6 months later, the Breathe Easy Clinic opened its doors in the South Bronx, one of the most underserved neighborhoods in New York City. The modest building housed state-of-the-art equipment alongside an education center where families could learn asthma management regardless of ability to pay. Marcus served as medical director 3 days a week. The other 4 days, he still patrolled Westfield Mall in his security uniform. The staff there had started calling him Doc since the story broke in local news. Victoria had reduced her work week to 50 hours. Revolutionary for a CEO. The company hadn't suffered. If anything, the Breathe Easy initiative generated more positive press than any campaign in Pinnacle's history. Richard Blake quietly resigned from the board. The clinic's waiting room was filled with children's artwork, colorful lungs, inhalers with superhero capes, clouds shaped like friendly animals. In a place of honor hung a framed drawing signed by both Emma and Lily, 2 girls holding hands beneath a bright blue sky with the words "Breathing Buddies Forever," a golden autumn afternoon in Central Park. 4 figures sat on a bench near the duck pond, not a CEO and a security guard, not a former doctor and a pharmaceutical executive, just 2 parents watching their daughters chase each other through fallen leaves. Victoria had learned to leave her phone in the car during these outings. Marcus had rediscovered the joy of medical research without the crushing weight of hospital bureaucracy. Any regrets? Victoria asked, watching Emma and Lily feed the ducks together. About not taking the full-time position. Marcus considered the question as Lily showed Emma the proper technique for tossing breadcrumbs, her gestures animated, her laugh carrying across the water. I used to think I had to choose, be a great doctor or be a good father. Either or, all or nothing. He shook his head slowly. Turns out the best answers aren't usually at the extremes. They're somewhere in the middle, where you can hold on to the things that matter without crushing them. Victoria nodded. She was learning this lesson too, slowly, imperfectly, but learning. Mommy, Mr. Marcus! Emma ran toward them, Lily close behind. Their cheeks were flushed from the cold, their eyes bright with joy. Lily says if we were sisters, we could see each other every single day. Victoria and Marcus exchanged a glance. Something unspoken passed between them. Not quite romance, not yet, but possibility. A door left open. Marcus reached over and took Victoria's hand. She didn't pull away. Maybe, he said softly, we could start with dinner. Tonight, all four of us. Victoria smiled. Not the practiced smile of boardrooms and press conferences. Something genuine, uncertain, entirely human. I'd like that. Emma and Lily cheered, already debating pizza versus Chinese food. And in the golden light of a New York autumn, four people who had been broken in different ways found themselves becoming something new together. Not a perfect family. Such things exist only in fairy tales. But something real, imperfect, full of possibility. Because sometimes the people who challenge our worldview most profoundly become the ones who help us breathe more easily in the end.